10 Australian cities are being flooded with Americans. Last year alone, over 15,000 Americans packed up their lives and moved across the Pacific, a 67% increase since 2019. But here's the wild part, they're not spreading evenly. They're clustering in just 10 cities. And what's happening inside those places is reshaping entire communities, economies, and even identities. In some towns, you'll find American-style diners on every corner, locals saying awesome instead of no worries, and school children picking up accents that sound halfway between California and Canberra. So, what's driving this mass migration? And what does it mean for Australia's future? Let's dive deep into the 10 Australian cities being transformed by Americans, and why, for many, this isn't a vacation move. It's an escape. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the global stories that actually matter. Comment I subscribe below, and I'll personally welcome you to the World Lytix community. Now, let's get started. 1 keycap emoji, Adelaide. The surprise hotspot Adelaide wasn't even on the radar 3 years ago. But according to South Australia's 2024 migration report, the number of American residents has skyrocketed 340% since 2021. Why? 3 simple reasons: a wine country lifestyle at 40% the cost of Napa Valley, a booming tech and defense industry, and something Americans can hardly believe exists, a 20-minute city, where everything is walkable. Meet David Rodriguez, a 41-year-old aerospace engineer from Los Angeles. In LA, the projects he worked on would cost $200 million. In Adelaide, the same ones cost $60 million, and he still gets home in time for dinner. His kids bike to school safely now, something he never allowed in LA. But with growth comes tension. Housing prices in North Adelaide are up 23%, and locals are starting to ask whether their quiet city is becoming America 2.0. 2 keycap emoji, Gold Coast, Florida without the chaos. Imagine Miami, but without the hurricanes, the chaos, or the crime. That's what's attracting Americans to the Gold Coast, where the American population has tripled since 2020. Crime in Miami? Nearly 600 incidents per 100,000 people. Gold Coast? Just 89. Meet Jessica and Tom Morrison from Fort Lauderdale. They moved to Burleigh Heads after their 7-year-old daughter came home terrified of school shootings. Now, they run a digital marketing agency from the beach. Tom says, "I see my kids more in a week here than I did in a month back home." But the American influence is visible everywhere, from bottomless coffee at local cafes to diners named after Route 66. Some locals jokingly call it Gold Coast, USA. 3 keycap emoji, Tasmania, the introvert's paradise. You wouldn't expect Tasmania to attract Americans, but it's happening, fast. American migration there is up 290% since 2020. Why? Because it feels like Portland and Vermont combined, but at half the price. Artists, writers, and remote workers are finding peace in nature, small-town life, and affordability. Take Rachel Kowalski, a novelist from Brooklyn. She paid $3,400 a month for a studio in New York. Now she rents a cottage with mountain views for $1,200, and she finally finished her book after 3 years of creative burnout. The trade-off? Limited jobs if you're not remote. But for many, that's a small price to pay for sanity. 4 keycap emoji, Perth, the remote boomtown. Perth is the most isolated major city on Earth, and Americans love it. Since 2019, the number of Americans living there has jumped 180%. Why? Because Perth offers California weather without California prices. American engineers are earning $180,000 to $250,000 in the mining sector while tripling their savings rate. Marcus and Emily Chun, petroleum engineers from Houston, say they bought a home in just 2 years, something that would have taken 15 back home. But there's culture shock, too. Americans pushing late-night emails meet Aussie bosses who reply, "It's 6 p.m, go home." And yes, Thanksgiving dinners are now a thing in Perth supermarkets. 5 keycap emoji, Canberra, the power move. Canberra, often overlooked, is becoming the DC of the Pacific. With a 210% increase in Americans, the city is attracting defense contractors, analysts, and consultants under the new AUKUS agreements. Lieutenant Colonel James Whitmore, retired from Virginia, says, "I have more impact here than I did at the Pentagon." And here's something remarkable, an American school is opening in 2025 to accommodate contractor families. But not everyone's cheering. Locals worry about growing US influence in Australia's defence decisions. Canberra is small but strategic, America's presence is visible everywhere. 6 keycap emoji, Byron Bay, where Silicon Valley escapes. Byron Bay has seen a 420% surge in Americans since 2019. Tech founders, influencers, and retired millionaires are calling it home. Wellness culture. Yoga. Organic cafes. And yes, Chris Hemsworth lives there. Amanda Torres, a tech founder from Austin who sold her startup for $18 million, says she earns just 5% of her old salary but feels 500% happier. But there's a dark side. The median house price has jumped from $1.1 million to $2.8 million in just 5 years. Graffiti now reads Silicon Bay. Locals feel pushed out. As one American said, it's paradise. Until you realize you're part of the problem. 7 keycap emoji, Sunshine Coast, family haven. Just 90 minutes from Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast has quietly become the family favorite for Americans. The population is up 380%, especially among parents seeking safety. One father, Jake Patterson from North Carolina, said his 6-year-old daughter's school had lockdown drills. That was the moment they decided to leave. Now, his kids walk to the beach after school, safely. Studies show American children in Australia show a 40% reduction in anxiety within 18 months. Families can live comfortably on $85,000 a year, compared to $120,000 in the US. Sunshine Coast is where American families find. 8 keycap emoji, Brisbane, the Austin of Australia. Brisbane is booming. There are now 12,000 Americans, and more coming every month. Why? Because it's becoming a new tech hub ahead of the 2032 Olympics. Amazon, Boeing, and multiple startups are setting up shop. Kevin Alarton from Boston said, "I took a pay cut, but my quality of life increased tenfold." Entire suburbs like West End now have 12% American residents, and over 340 American-owned businesses have launched in the city. Locals are split, some welcome the energy, others fear Americanization. 9 keycap emoji, Melbourne, the creative magnet. Melbourne is now home to over 18,000 Americans, drawn by its arts, cafes, and global feel. Zoe Martinez from Portland describes it best, "Melbourne feels like Portland plus New York plus better weather." She started a design agency that now employs both Australians and Americans, and she paid off her student debt in 3 years. Culturally, it's blending beautifully, Thanksgiving dinners, American comedy festivals, and hybrid Aussie-American startups. But housing costs are rising fast, and locals are asking newcomers to adapt, not dominate. Keyboard key 10 emoji, Sydney, the global magnet. And finally, Sydney, the crown jewel. With over 45,000 Americans, it's now home to the largest US population in the Southern Hemisphere. Why? Because Sydney offers what Americans crave, global opportunity, coastal beauty, and safety, all in one. Carlos and Jennifer Rodriguez-Williams from Manhattan sold their tiny apartment for $1.8 million and bought a house with ocean views in Manly. Their son, once on anxiety medication, now surfs before school. Carlos said, "We're never going back. We're Australians now, with American accents." But Sydney's transformation raises hard questions. American buyers now make up 8.5% of luxury real estate sales. Neighborhoods like Mossman and Manly are seeing double-digit American populations. And yet, despite tension over housing and culture, studies show 81% of Americans integrate successfully within 2 years, with many forming cross-cultural marriages and families. By 2027, Sydney's American population could surpass 60,000. Globe emoji, the bigger picture. What's happening here isn't just migration, it's a global reshuffling. Americans are leaving not because of opportunity, but because of fear and fatigue, gun violence, political chaos, healthcare costs, and the search for peace. Over 72% of Americans in Australia say they'll never move back. As one mother from Denver put it, "My daughter doesn't know what a lockdown drill is anymore. That innocence, that's what we bought with this move." So it raises a question that every viewer should ask themselves. Right pointing finger emoji, if visas and money weren't an issue, would you move for a safer, slower, more peaceful life? Or is there something keeping you rooted where you are, Something worth more than all of that? Drop your answer in the comments below, because this story isn't ending here. It's only just beginning. Outro CTA, emotional and strong. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button to help more people discover it. Subscribe to World Lytix for more global stories that change how you see the world. Because what's happening in Australia right now might just be a glimpse of our collective future.